A cold tent starts at the floor, not the air. Most campers pile blankets on top and still freeze. The cold keeps climbing from the ground all night. A sleeping bag cannot fix heat loss from below. One cheap car item can block that cold fast. A reflective car sunshade is the main piece. That silver foldable panel goes under the sleep zone. It does not go on top of the sleeping bag. It goes under the pad or under the blanket layer. That is what traps warmth where the body needs it. The setup works because heat gets stolen downward first. Cold ground keeps pulling warmth out for hours. Soft bedding alone cannot stop that drain. The silver layer bounces body heat back upward. That makes the sleeping area feel warmer, faster. The exact item is a cheap car windshield sunshade. The type with reflective foil works best here. A thicker one usually holds shape a bit better. The first step is opening it flat on the floor. Cover the torso area first, then the leg zone. If it is too long, fold the extra under. If it is too narrow, place it under the core. Chest, hips, and thighs matter more than the feet. That zone loses heat and comfort the fastest. The second layer goes directly above the sunshade. A foam pad or blanket sits on top. The body never lies on bare foil alone. The foil is the heat shield, not the comfort layer. That order is where most people screw it up. Bag on foil feels noisy and slides around. Pad over foil feels warmer and more stable. That is the cheap trick done the right way. The floor stops sucking warmth as aggressively. The body heat stays closer to the sleep layer. A weak tent suddenly feels less brutally cold. That matters most after dark when the temperature drops. A lot of cold nights feel worse after midnight. The ground keeps getting colder while the body slows down. That is when the bad setup starts getting punished. Now the key mistake that ruins the whole trick. Many campers leave gaps under the torso area. A tiny uncovered strip can feel stupidly cold. Cold sneaks in right where pressure meets the floor. That is why the center placement matters more than looks. The silver layer must stay under the body core. Shoulders, back, hips, and upper legs come first. A perfect rectangle is not the main goal. Blocking the cold path is the real goal. Another mistake is putting thick gear below wet ground. If the tent floor is damp, fix that first. The warmest stack still fails on a soaked base. Dry floor first, reflective layer second, comfort layer third. That order keeps the trick from turning stupid. A cheap item only works with clean placement. The feel inside the tent changes almost immediately. The floor stops feeling like a block of ice. The sleeping spot feels less dead and more insulated. That difference matters before sleep even starts. The body relaxes faster when the cold stops climbing. That means better sleep and less midnight misery. The full guide in the description shows exact layering. It breaks down size, fold pattern, and backup options. That matters when the tent floor is uneven. That matters even more in real cold weather. Another thing makes this trick hit harder. The sunshade already has some stiffness and structure. It does not bunch up like a loose blanket. That keeps more of the barrier under the body. Cheap fleece alone can shift all night. The silver layer stays where the heat fight happens. That is why the setup feels stronger than expected. This is not magic, and it is not luxury. It is a stupidly cheap way to stop heat loss. And that is exactly why it works so well. Most people keep chasing thicker top layers instead. They treat the symptom and ignore the real leak. The real leak is heat escaping into the ground. Stop that first, and the whole tent feels different. Cold air matters, but cold ground hits harder. The floor is the silent thief under the bag. That is why one car item can outwork more blankets. Small price, big shift, brutal night saved. The setup gets even better with the right next layer. The second piece is what goes above the sunshade. A foam pad makes this trick much stronger. Even a cheap pad beats extra blankets alone. Foam adds cushion and slows more heat loss. Reflective layer below, foam pad above, body on top. That stack is simple and hard to mess up. If no pad is available, use a folded blanket. The blanket must stay above the silver layer. That gives warmth and cuts down the crinkly feel. The body should never fight the foil directly. That only makes the setup annoying and sloppy. Now the next mistake that kills the result. A lot of campers use a sunshade that is too small. A tiny car panel under the stomach only helps a little. The hips and shoulders still bleed heat into the floor. That creates warm spots and freezing spots all night. Better coverage makes a huge difference in real use. A wider panel or two overlapped sections works better. The body core should stay inside the reflective zone. That one detail changes the whole feel. Another huge mistake is leaving air gaps underneath. A bunched floor liner creates cold pockets below the body. That makes the setup weaker than it should be. Flatten everything before the sleep layer goes down. Smooth base, smooth foil, smooth comfort layer. That is what gives a steady, warm surface. The floor can stay cold without stealing everything. That is the result the trick is chasing. The body keeps more of its own heat. That means less shivering and fewer wake-ups. Now the part that makes the title hit harder. A tent feels warmer when heat stops escaping downward. That is why the whole shelter seems different. The air did not magically heat itself up. The sleep zone stopped dumping heat into the floor. That is the hidden reason cheap tents feel brutal. Thin floors lose the fight before sleep even settles. The body spends hours paying for that weakness. The Sunshade helps close that weak point fast. That is why the change feels bigger than the price. A $2 item can beat a dumb setup. Expensive gear still underperforms with bad layering. Cheap skill humiliates expensive gear all the time. That is the real off-grid lesson here. Placement matters more than brand when nights get ugly. The exact setup in the guide shows full layer order. It covers foam, blankets, pads, and backup versions. It also shows the best fold pattern for small tents. That matters when floor space gets tight. Now look at where the cold usually feels worst. Hips, lower back, and shoulders take a beating. Those points press deepest into the floor. Pressure crushes loft and weakens soft insulation. That is why top blankets stop helping after a point. The ground keeps winning from below. Reflective barrier plus pad helps stop that crush loss. The warmth stays closer to the body core. That gives a steadier feel through the night. Another mistake ruins cold weather setups fast. Wet boots and damp clothes inside the sleep area. Moisture makes the cold feel twice as vicious. A warm floor trick cannot beat soaked gear. Keep wet gear away from the body zone. Keep the insulated area dry and clean. That lets the heat barrier do its job. Now the trick gets even stronger with one move. Put the reflective side facing the body heat source. That usually means shiny side up under the pad. The goal is bouncing radiant warmth back upward. That is the side doing the useful work. Bad orientation weakens the effect for no reason. Another lazy mistake is leaving the feet off the layer. Cold feet can ruin sleep even with a warm torso. If the sunshade is short, shift it lower at bedtime. That helps when the legs freeze first. If the torso freezes first, keep it centered higher. The exact placement depends on where the pain starts. That is why the guide covers multiple floor layouts. Some nights need more torso focus. Some nights need more lower body coverage. The trick stays cheap either way. The real win is using it with intent. Heat save below means less suffering above. Now the trick gets pushed harder for brutal nights. Layering decides whether the setup feels decent or great. The strongest cheap stack starts with a dry tent floor. Then the car sunshade goes down flat. Then a foam pad or folded blanket goes above it. Then the sleeping bag or top blanket goes last. That order keeps warmth closest to the body. It also keeps the silver layer from slipping around. A lot of failed setups reverse the middle layers. That wastes the whole point of the trick. Another killer is using the setup on a bad spot. Cold ground gets worse in dips and wet soil. A small low spot can feel like a freezer tray. Pick the driest, flattest patch the site allows. Avoid ground that feels dark, muddy, or soaked. The warmest layer stack still loses on wet earth. Dry ground multiplies what the sunshade can do. That is why smart site choice still matters. The trick is strong, but it is not magic. Now the next thing most people never test. Try the stack before the first freezing trip. 10 minutes at home exposes dumb mistakes fast. Sliding layers, sharp folds, and weak coverage show up early. That test saves a miserable surprise in the dark. Another reason this trick works so well is speed. No stove, no battery, no fancy gear needed. Just a cheap reflective panel placed the right way. That makes it perfect for beginner off-grid setups. It also makes it perfect for backup use. A spare sunshade weighs little and costs almost nothing. One can stay in the car for emergencies. One can stay with the camping gear full time. That tiny prep can save a savage night. The body loses patience fast when sleep goes cold. Shivering kills comfort and wrecks recovery. Bad sleep makes the next day worse too. A warmer floor changes more than just the first hour. It changes the whole rhythm of the night. Fewer wake-ups means more actual rest. More rest means better decisions in rough weather. That is why this simple trick hits above its weight. The guide in the description gives the exact repeatable setup. It covers cold floor layering without guesswork. It shows the best order for mild and brutal nights. It also shows common mistakes that ruin the effect. That includes fold size, placement, and dry zone setup. Now for the final mistake list that wrecks results. Do not place the foil above the sleeping bag. Do not leave it half under the torso. Do not use it on a soaked, muddy base. Do not let wrinkles create pressure gaps underneath. Do not expect top blankets to solve floor cold alone. Do not ignore hips and shoulders in the layout. Those mistakes make the trick look weaker than it is. Used right, the result feels stupidly strong for the price. That is why the packaging works for this idea. The item is weird, cheap, and instantly visual. The pain is broad, brutal, and easy to understand. The result is all-night relief, not tiny improvement. That is the exact kind of off-grid promise that clicks. And the setup actually delivers when it is done right. Cold floor pain is not subtle once night settles in. It crawls into the hips, back, and legs. It turns a normal tent into a punishment box. That is why the fix feels so satisfying. One ugly car item humiliates a dumb tent problem. That kind of result sticks in memory fast. No expensive branding, no fake survival theater. Just a cheap reflective barrier used in the right order. The title promise gets fulfilled by the setup itself. More trapped warmth, less heat loss, better sleep. That is the whole game on a cold night. When the ground stops stealing heat, the tent feels calmer. The sleep zone holds together instead of collapsing. That is what people actually want after dark. Not theory, not gear talk, just relief that lasts. Cheap setup, warm body, better night, less misery. That is how a $2 fix earns the click.